This is WOOL-FM 91.5 in Bellows Falls, Vermont. Big thing coming up. Fabled Nashville-based singer-songwriter David Olney is coming to Wardsboro, Vermont, July 22nd, with Daniel Seymour on bass and globe-trotting folk duo Hungry Town opening. It's at the Wardsboro Town Hall, just over towards Stratton, off to the left of Putney. This will be worth the trip. And get this, it's a $10 ticket, and that's amazing. Find all the details online at wardsborocurtaincall.net. And since you're from around here, you know that borough is spelled B-O-R-O. wardsborocurtaincall.net. And while you're looking at that website, listen to this. I've got David Olney, his bad self, on the phone.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for taking the time with us.
Oh, I'm glad to do it.
Have you heard anything about that venue?
No.
Some people in Wardsboro got it in their head to fix up the old stage in the old town hall. They did it and then started bringing entertainment, and they're hitting it out of the park.
These out-of-the-way places, I'm sorry, Wardsboro, to describe you as such, but, not New York City, not Milwaukee, not whatever. People just have a different attitude toward music, and they really get enthusiastic about having people going to a show. To me, it's the way music must have been, even 100 years ago. It's just a kind of, like I say, enthusiasm that you don't find in bigger cities.
It's. I'm not going to say it's at odds, because I imagine it's got to be really, really satisfying with a regular person with a regular life comes up and tells you that some song you wrote touched them in some deep way.
It's overwhelming. You get compliments from other musicians, and I really appreciate that, to get respect from your peers. Mm-hmm. But when someone who has a completely different job comes up and says that they really love this song, whatever song it may be, that really is, to me, the big connection. Mm-hmm. And it hits you like stepping on a rake in a good way.
You kind of glanced off this a little bit, but some people might not know that over the years of your career, your songs have been picked up by, and you've co-written with people like Emmylou Harris and Steve Earle and Johnny Cash, Linda Ronstadt, Del McCoury, and list. How's the air up there?
It's great to be noticed by people of that sort of stature. Of course, it kind of, you feel a sense of validation. But in my more quiet moments, I guess, a garage band down the street doing a song of mine is just as moving in a different way, in a different kind of way. Of course, Emmylou Harris doing your song, I mean, that's sitting on top of the world to me. But, I'll find these odd YouTube videos of someone in Holland with a guitar doing a song of mine. And that just seems so basic and so pure that it really means a lot to me.
So you get to enjoy kind of the best of a couple of worlds, because in a way you're a songwriter's songwriter, and in another way you're hitting it home with the audience.
Yes, I think the core experience is, even more important than writing the song, which for years I put that in kind of the main thing that I do. But in fact, getting up in front of people and playing these songs is the key moment. That's when, I don't know, it's almost like making touch with, getting into contact with another world. It can be extremely intense and moving, especially in smaller places. You can see every face in the room, and it's a really intimate contact. And to me, it makes me want to play these songs really as best as I can to get them across, because I can see these people and they're looking to me to do that.
Yeah.
And if I can do it, then it's really a great feeling. To me, the big attraction, besides getting out and playing in front of people, is to do this with Hungry Town and see Rebecca and Ken. Mm-hmm. I'm big fans of theirs.
And you recorded one of their songs.
Yes, a song called "Oh Lord." Rebecca wrote that on her own, I think.
Oh Lord, don't let them bury me. I'm not prepared to die. I see your servant
years ago, I played at a Folk Alliance thing, which I'd been kind of dreading. It was a lot of playing in people's motel rooms, and I don't know, it's just not my kind of deal. And I was expecting to have a bad time, and lo and behold, I'm playing, and also on that particular show was Rebecca and Ken.
Mm-hmm.
And the song she was playing would just bowl me over, and I remember particularly that song, Oh Lord, and I just put it in the back of my head that I wanted to work that up.
I mean, they are so honest.
Yes, there's not a whole lot of ego forcing its way to the front with them. It's all about the songs, and they do a lot of old folk songs,
mm-hmm.
and so they're grounded in that. And they're just really likable people, which you say that, and it usually means that they don't play very well if you're describing them as likable. But they're really, really good. Her singing has always been unique and really good to me.
You've released a good couple of dozen albums over the years so far. This new one, which is called Don't Try to Fight It, at first I was thinking it was a departure, but it's not. It's not a departure at all. It's an expansion.
Yes, and I think the key element in that was working with Brock Zeman,
mm-hmm.
who's a Canadian. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a Canadian singer-songwriter. And I know about him because he produced an album by a friend of mine, Tom House.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom is a hard guy to get what he's about on recorded. And I thought Brock did a really brilliant job.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brock came to Nashville to play a gig with Tom, and I went out to hear him, and I got to see what a great player he was and what an intense performer. And went up after the show and kind of struck up a conversation, and one thing led to another. And so he produced Don't Try to Fight It. Yes, I think you're saying that it was an expansion is quite accurate.
I have met Brock, and in addition to being so crazy talented, he's one of the nicest guys in the world, and that's in Canadian measure.
Yes, I don't know, Canada's different. The thing that I was talking about, audiences in more out-of-the-way places tend to appreciate music more. And I think Canada as a country is that way. They just really embrace it. And Brock, embodies that for me.
Mm. The publicity for this album says that it's full of words, melody, rhythm, unreliable narrators, violent bluster, wistful introspection, freaks, liars, crooks, weirdos, and lovers. And it's true, but with you, it's always been true.
I've never been the kind of writer that, kind of confessional and
mm-hmm.
everything is about my life. To me, they're works of fiction. And I make these people up, and if they resonate with me, then the song will come out pretty good. And people who cheat and lie and steal and do basically very human things are interesting to me.
Some songwriters, a lot of songwriters, wear their hearts on their sleeves, but you wear your imaginary friends' hearts on your sleeve.
Yes, my imaginary friends. It's exactly who they are. Our culture has this idea of the singer-songwriter being this incredibly interesting person. Mm-hmm. But in fact, the job involves driving long, long distances and staying in motels that look all the same. There's a sameness to it. It's not in itself a particularly interesting job. So, what I'm trying to say is basically if I try to write about myself, it's not all that interesting to me. But making somebody up is.
Let's play a track from the new one. I mean, there ain't a dud in the bunch, and covers a wide swath of territory. So it's going to be hard to pick a song, but I'm going to put you to it.
Put me to it?
Yeah.
Play Don't Try to Fight It. I'm proud of the way that came out.
Yeah. I ain't a prophet, I'm not a preacher. I ain't a poet, I'm not a teacher, I don't know nothing. That's how I like it. Live in a tide pool, don't try to fight it. 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 I used to rage, I used to fight, would not go gentle into the night. I drank my liquor, I took my drugs with pimps and pushers, hookers and thugs. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to fight it. I've heard the story of evolution. I've read the Bible, know that solution. My head is filled up with fact and fiction. All that I'm sure of is flesh and friction. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to fight it. I'm not a teacher, I don't know nothing. That's how I like it. Live in a tide pool, don't try to fight it. 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 I used to rage, I used to fight, would not go gentle into the night. I drank my liquor, I took my drugs with pimps and pushers, hookers and thugs. Don't try to fight it. 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 Don't try to fight it.
You have this thing that sometimes you do on the end of a line where your voice will kind of pitch up real quickly into sort of a squeak, and it reminds me of Captain Beefheart.
Oh, well, all right. You sure it doesn't remind you of Mario Lanza?
No, I'm sticking with Cap'n. And
okay.
Right at the beginning of that title track, you make a kind of a vocal noise that it just, for me, that's where it is.
Well, that particular song wrote with Kieran Kane. He's a really brilliant musician and writer, and I was kind of intimidated. And I went over to his place, and he kind of had the song, the first verses kind of going already, and I was just in my mind in a panic to think how I could contribute anything to this. And he was playing through it, and I was kind of getting the chords to it. While we were doing that, his telephone rang, and I just started yelling out, I hear a ringing, somebody get it. So it's kind of a stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
That's second part of the song. And it was just a way to kind of get my foot in the door. It's still can be kind of an awkward situation for me to co-write with, especially with people that I really admire.
Yeah, it's interesting that you were intimidated.
Oh, the Nashville is a town for that. I tell you what, it's the same with New York. It's the same with Austin, Texas, and the same with L.A. It'll draw really, really good musicians and songwriters, but it'll also be a magnet for really, really bad musicians and songwriters. And you just kind of hope you get to sit down with the good ones.
There is a guy who lives out here. He claims to be a friend of yours. He wants us to bust out Robert Ford and Jesse James from your catalog. It's not a very family-friendly song, though.
No. I remember sitting on my porch, and I don't know if I'd just seen a movie or something. I know it was related back to this book, The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. The story of Robert Ford killing Jesse James while they were talking in Jesse James's house, and Jesse James was adjusting a picture on the wall, and Robert Ford shot him in the back. I thought, what could they possibly have been talking about that Robert Ford would do that? Somehow the idea of Jesse James as kind of the ultimate bully kind of seemed to fit in, and it's one of those ones that once you kind of get the train of thought started, you just kind of tug on it like a piece of yarn and see where it takes you. And that's the way that one went. And I remember going, this guy is despicable. I usually try to not be judgmental about the people that end up in my songs, but for Jesse James, I made an exception and finally had to kill him off.
Hey, Bob, do you remember when we robbed that Glendale train? And I shot that engineer and left him lying in the rain. You were shaking like a leaf, I thought you'd break and run, but my hands was never steadier than when they held a gun. All the horses' hooves are pounding, bullets flying in the air, the bleeding and the dying, hell, I didn't care. All the chances that I took back then, I must have been insane. Hey, Bob, do you remember when we robbed that Glendale train?
I've done several of those train trips with Charlie.
Yeah.
I know that he likes that song. I always do it.
Yes, we are absolutely talking about Charlie Hunter. You got any dirt on him? I want dirt.
Well, yes, I do. I have plenty of dirt, but it's a sideline of mine that I blackmail people. So, I'm not going to just blurt this stuff out for free. But everything's negotiable. No, Charlie Hunter has been just, really helpful to me over the years. And he's just, he's extremely talented painter.
Yeah. I
mean, he's a real Renaissance guy.
And another one of those people who are just, you can't meet anybody who's more present.
Yes. Being present, that really is the key to Charlie. You'd have to be to do those train trips that he does. Any number of things can go weirdly wrong, with a train. He's always right there, never loses his composure. I think the world of Charlie.
For anybody who isn't sure what we're talking about, go to Google, type in Roots on the Rails. You'll get the story.
Yeah.
And maybe I dug myself a hole because Charlie's not the only nice guy. I'm going to play something.
That room was also good for a lot of people if they came up the stairs, and one day a whole troop of them came up under the guidance of a wonderful fellow named Tommy Goldsmith, and he was bringing in Ed Dye. Ed was quite a wonderful bundle of energy. He had these things called bluegrass tears. There was all kinds of people involved, and out of that came a group which called themselves the Nashville Jug Band. It had Dave Olney in it, sometimes Pat McLaughlin in it, Mike Henderson, a whole pile of people. And then Tommy Goldsmith called me up, and he asked me if I'd like to join him in producing an album on David Olney. No hesitation in saying yes to that. I will always love David's music, and his whole attitude has a bit of an edge to his music, as we will see with this. It's a double-barreled tune called Lee's Highway and Bamaloo.
Remember that when you write your book. This here's the road that General Lee took, heading for God knows where, heading for God knows where, but we're rolling down Lee's highway. Well, a million stars come out to shine like diamonds from the mine. Remember that when you write your book. This is the road that General Lee took, heading for God knows where, heading for God knows where, but we're rolling down Lee's highway.
Rooney.
Yeah, and that was fun doing that record. There was a woman, Stephanie Davis, that played fiddle with me, and this was a CD called Roses.
Yeah.
Stephanie was stunningly beautiful, but just a total natural, and played great fiddle, and was just the easiest person to kind of get along with. But the other thing that she did is she could play trumpet. There was a song where she plays a trumpet solo, and the way that it was recorded, she had one mic. She was in a booth.
Yeah.
She had one mic that she played fiddle through, and then she just put right in the middle of the song, the basic track, put the fiddle down, pick up the trumpet, and use the same mic and blow this trumpet solo. And, to me, it was really cool that Rooney was open to that kind of weirdness. And as far as the jug band goes, that really was fun. We did a record with Jim producing it. And, I'm there with these players, Roy Husky Jr., Mike Henderson, just a bunch of people that never in the world would I ever be able to be in a band with them, based on my ability to play. And I got to play harmonica in it, and I thought, this is like stealing candy. It was great.
So is it kind of like being a DJ? Because you're a radio guy, too.
Oh, well, I did that, for about half a year. It was just to try something new. But I'm on the road too much to really do it.
But you do a weekly web video.
Yeah, I go over to my manager's office, Mary Sack, and we knock that out, and I kind of let people know where I'm going to be playing and do a song and kind of talk about how the song came about. It's one of those things, if you keep it short and just try to act as natural as you can, I think it's an odd thing doing these shows, and the same way that it must be odd for you doing your radio show is you can't see the audience.
Right.
It's kind of a act of faith that they're out there. You're sitting there chatting with someone that you can't see. I've often thought maybe that's the basis of religion.
What does this make you?
I'm getting in over my head.
You have become a hat guy. Not everyone can pull off a hat, but you can work a hat.
Yeah, I like wearing hats. My dad used to wear one, and I thought, I want to wear a hat like my dad wore. In Nashville, when I first came here, there was a whole lot of cowboy hat stuff, and I thought, I don't want to do that. But I want to wear some kind of hat, so I would wear a fedora, like I say, that looked like something my dad would wear.
Should people expect the hat when they come out to see you?
Oh, yeah. I've actually had surgery to have it medically connected to the top of my head. It never comes off.
What else can they expect when they come out to see the show?
Well, I'm going to be playing with the bass player, Dan Seymour. I think the last time I was up in that area, I was playing with a guitar player, Sergio Webb, who was, just an amazing guitar player.
Yeah.
And he finally went out and, started his own deal, so he's out on the road doing his music. And I didn't want to just try and find someone to fill those shoes because it would be impossible. So instead of getting another lead player, I went out with a stand-up bass player, Dan Seymour. And it's worked out really well, and it kind of puts the song a little more front and center as opposed to the performance.
And he's inspired. He knows the right thing to do.
Dan Seymour, the bass player?
Yep.
Yes, he's yes, he's very good. He works really hard, and he's worked in the using the bow, so that's a whole another sound we can get. And he's just a really good guy to be on the road with. More than 50% of how you do this stuff is just finding people that you can get along with, and then who are willing to put up with my unbearable foibles.
Folks, you have the opportunity to catch David Olney and his unbearable foibles with crack bassist Daniel Seymour and Hungry Town opening Saturday, July 22nd, Wardsboro Town Hall on Main Street in Wardsboro, over by Stratton. Doors at 6:30, music at 7. Amazingly, $10 get you in the door, and that includes free pizza bites. Bring your own beer or wine, leave the hard stuff at home. More details on the website of the fine folks of Wardsboro Curtain Call, wardsborocurtaincall.net. And you mentioned Sergio Webb. There is a Music City Roots video of When the Deal Goes Down from an album or two back. I could not take my eyes off that guy.
Oh, yeah. Sergio, it wasn't just the playing, which was mind-boggling. You had to think about what you were going to wear on when you got up on stage with Sergio, or you'd end up looking like an Undertaker. I mean, he was going to look good and have a lot of, magnetism. It stepped up my game a whole bunch.
I'm going to bring it back to Captain Beefheart, because Sergio Webb, his presence, his demeanor, not his playing, he reminds me of Rocket Morton back when he was playing with Captain Beefheart during the Trout Mask replica days.
There were a couple of phenomenal players that played with Captain Beefheart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go out on, I'm going to go out on 2 tracks from the new one. Is that good? You want to pick a couple of tracks and I'll do them back to back?
Well, I'm fond of Innocent Heart.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you pick the other one.
I'll think about it. Innocent Heart, I like. Yeah, it's Tex-Mex heartbreak without going full mariachi. It's just right.
That arrangement was basically Brock's doing. It was very beautiful what he came up with.
I'm going to choose Situation because, man, it's like the opening sequence of an X-Files episode.
Yes. Yeah. That was a fun song to write. A lot of these songs I wrote with a fellow named John Hadley, and I should drop his name, and that's one of them. I go in with these weird ideas, and John goes, "Oh, let's try going this way, going that way."
I know you got to jump off to do another one of these. Ain't it the life? But thanks so much for taking the time to be with us.
Yeah, well, thank you for calling, and I'll see you when I get up there.
Drive safe, and
all right, man.
Don't drive your bass player crazy.
Well, I got to do something. I got to have a hobby.
The freedom you craved made you afraid of promises you don't remember. The fire in your eyes that once burned so bright has died down to ashes and embers. Take a look in your mirror tonight when there's no one around. Baby, your innocent heart has let you down. You learn to tell your story so well. Finally you came to believe it. But who pays the cost when all faith is lost just at the moment you need it? There's no easy truth anywhere in this world to be found. Baby, your innocent heart has let you down. Innocent heart, where have you gone? How could you leave me here alone? night was passing fine and smooth and quiet as a snake. Everything was working, just a humming right along. I got a feeling in my gut that something might be wrong. Something more is going on than noises in the night. Can't put my finger on it, but it's nowhere close to right. So boss, I thought I'd better call you up and fill you in. Something here is gonna blow, I just can't tell you when. Boss, I know you're a busy man, don't mean to worry you none, but someone better get down here, we got a situation. The air got thick and heavy, and I thought I smelled some smoke, and I thought I heard a rattle like something might be broke. Was that a siren's whine, or was that a woman's laugh? Was that a raven calling, or the sound of broken glass? Boss, I know you're a busy man, don't mean to wear you none, but I'm gonna need some backup, I can't handle this alone. You better send them down here now, we got a situation. You better get on down here now, we got a situation. You better get on down here now, we got a situation.
All right, this is Dave Olney, and you're listening WOOL, Black Sheep Radio.